All right. God, there's so much I want to say about this topic, but really, you can tell I'm talking about the legacy of Kevin Samuels, in the last couple of weeks of his passing, just from a mindset standpoint. Because again, I unabashedly a fan of Kevin Samuels. I remember when he was first talking about just fashion and fragrance and wardrobe essentials. That's when I essentially found Kevin Samuels, and then he talked about men improving our image and ourselves all around, and just doing the work. But then he went through this evolution where he pivoted and started dealing specifically with black women issues, because again he loved our community, but he understood the science behind the algorithm, and he decided to start addressing issues that were very strategic to get attention, to deal with issues, and to talk to our community. Very polarizing. Again, a lot of people loved him, a lot of people hated him. Honestly, but from a mindset standpoint, somebody who watched his evolution and from a mental standpoint could appreciate the value of what he brought. Um, I want to actually take a little bit of time to really kind of dive into the legacy of Kevin Samuels. Where do we go from here? Who kind of becomes the de facto next Kevin Samuels? And quite honestly, I don't think there's anybody that could fill his shoes. His work ethic, his skill set, his history, his background, his work ethic, all of these things combined with his naturally developed charisma made him such a force. And that's why he rose to the kind of prominence he did. But most people honestly don't really know, like, we really don't know who Kevin Samuels truly is because we didn't know him intimately. I mean, what I was able to glean just as a follower and a fan of his channel, um, there were so many nuggets, so many things, even just in his conversation, how he would handle conversations to kind of keep on task with the assignment at hand, trying to drive home the point. And honestly, yes, it did come across sometimes, and he was purposefully, controversial. But it was motivated by a tough love that is honestly not appreciated or seen much. Um, God, yeah, I'm still surprised, even going on 2 weeks after his passing. Just today they announced his funeral service is going to be held on Saturday, in his hometown of Oklahoma City. His family okayed that, and paying attention to some of the people that were close to his circle. Uh, Brother MTR, O'Shea Du Jackson, who again I salute and respectfully apologize for my faux pas a few days ago. But um, uh, Dennis Sterling as well. The brother has been phenomenal in standing in the gap and just speaking up on behalf and protecting this man's reputation and legacy. Um, it's good to see such strong, intelligent brothers kind of step up in this time and fill in the gap to really defend his legacy. Um, it's been painful. I was again having the conversation with my girlfriend, and as much as I love her and how wonderful I feel about her, I was just noticing there's a sadness in my heart because so much of what he talked about, I still sense as a black man who loves black women, that there's so much damage and mistrust. I mean, honestly, like, it's even the women who love us sometimes don't feel, you feel like they don't like us. And again, this is just part of the challenge that we all inherited as a community, because again, there is a reason why being black and in America, and because of what we've experienced over the last 500 years, some of it engineered, some of it just the byproduct of severe trauma that has never been addressed, treated, or corrected. um that we find ourselves at a very precarious place right now in history. And quite honestly, I've noticed that there's a split kind of down the middle, even in the community that really was a follower of Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels, like myself, was more towards the side of trying to salvage and rebuild the American black community to be strong and vibrant and competitive with every other culture and nationality, and to be respected. But realizing we had to do a lot of internal work. I mean, he was a champion for mental health awareness and seeking out therapy, but there was a level of accountability that honestly we just don't have as a code, as a community, that we can all. I mean, when I think about some of the men in our community who I could say would be respected enough, the list is very short. And honestly, it's sad to say that even as great as somebody like, Minister Louis Farrakhan, or the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, or a T.D. Jakes, or even a Barack Obama, like, there are so many notable figures. Some have more history than others, but there's no one person that could hold us all accountable and get us on code. We're at that place where it's either we're gonna salvage and rebuild and get on code together, or we're just gonna kind of be like every man for himself, and that already seems to be the attitude in the other camp. And I mean, respectfully, then, there's some brothers who just say, "Hey, I'm going to choose to go where I am celebrated," because the culture in America for us as black men, by and large, does not appreciate or celebrate us with dignity and honor and respect, other than for what we can accomplish, either, as a celebrity, entertainer, athlete, or professionally. Like, as a man, our culture, like we struggle just to be able to be respected and loved by our women. And again, there is definitely both sides of the conversation. I'm just speaking from a man's point of view right now. um but he really was a champion for trying to salvage and rebuild and give us a much better future than what we inherited, and even teach the next generation coming up to learn from our mistakes. But so much of that is lost and misunderstood because of the emotional trauma. Uh, so many of us honestly hear emotionally, and we don't filter and process logically the information that we receive, because once we feel a certain way, after that, everything else is colored by that emotion. One of the legacies that Kevin Samuels leaves is he was the catalyst for more conversation to go forward, to get deeper, than I think he will honestly get credit for. But I do see his catalog of videos being the source of study, like literally, like I think they'll be analyzing, and his legacy will be. Thankfully, we're at a time where you can put enough content out that you can shape your own narrative. And anybody who has a critical ear will be able to discern your intent, your truth. I mean, again, there's a lot of phonies and jams, but again, they reveal themselves. I can honestly say, for the content that Kevin Samuels put out, I think it worth to go back and review and study, for the understanding of the psychological dynamics that were taking place. There was a reason why so many of us were either triggered or moved. We were either inspired, or a lot of people felt insulted, but the intent was pure. And that's what I think the legacy of Kevin Samuels will be about. So, just Brother Mark Scott, another episode of Mindsets with Mark Scott. But yeah, I'll put this out. Thank you, Brother Kevin Samuels. Long live the legacy of the Godfather.